Hey fellow Vault wearers, it's Angry Turtle, and today I'm covering max DPS heavy gunner build, as I just noticed that I did this build for commando version, but I didn't for my heavy gunner. I don't know how that happened, but here we go. And first I will just quickly show you the loadout for a solo play, although it's not recommended as you are achieving much higher damage if you are playing on the team, but I was getting questions what to do if you are solo, then just quickly, what's the loadout for solo first? That's the special distribution. Of course, it's an endgame build, and yeah, I have everything maxed out in here. I'm just quickly showing you, and in this video I will not go over the basics, what everything does and why it's in here. More like I'm covering stuff for the damage and endgame players. If you need more basic information, please refer to other of my guides. I have a lot of them for different builds, and you will find much more basic information and how to progress from lower levels. This is focused on advanced players. And those are the mutations. And now let's jump to the discussion and covering the actual build, what's a team focused. And now that's the special distribution for our team focus, full DPS, the highest possible damage output heavy gunner. Those are the legendary perks we are using. As you can see, there are defensive perks and special, plus taking one for the team. As we are a frontline tank after all, then we need to be able to sustain damage as well as dish out a lot of damage. And now about the perks, and as I said, I will stop only on important ones. Those do not require an explanation. Glow sight is in here, as some of the enemies are glowing, even though it's not super important on a lot of boss fights. It's still more damage in some cases. Endurance is for our Survivor. Revenant is of course super important here. It's only for 2 minutes 50% damage, but if you will have a partner that's a stealth commando high DPS build, then I'm not expecting you will face any battle that will last longer than 2 minutes, therefore it's perfectly fine to cover entire fight. More damage of course on the charisma. Intelligence we need 15, and for 2 reasons in here. At this moment you can see that I have gunsmith equipped, but we'll be swapping it wherever I will not be using flamer. Like gunsmith is here specifically to use flamer that normally breaks really fast. When we will not be using a flamer, we'll swap those two for the first aid and power user. Next, under agility, we do have dodgy, born survival, and max out adrenaline. Dodgy is a really good pick for the heavy gunner build, as since it was fixed, it will not instantly drain all of your AP and will constantly provide damage mitigation, what makes it a perfect pick for a heavy gunner, as you don't even need to use VATS, then you do not drain much AP by yourself. Under luck, we do have mostly standard setup, plus one gun army. This perk will be swapping out, like whenever you will not need to fight any bosses, I would still recommend swapping one gun army for good with salt. That will save you some time on cooking, and as you notice, we do not have weight reduction for your food, therefore we'll be going for the minimalistic food loadout, food and drink loadout. There will be still food and drink in this build, but just you need to reduce the quantity. Now about the mutations, it's pretty standard, nothing in particular to mention in here. At current state of the game, we do not have empath, although it is very possible to play this build with empath equipped. I just assume you will be able to find a teammate that will be a stealth commando with empath, helping you out, as you will be taking all the damage on the front line, and stealth commando behind you can have empath, and it's very unlikely he will be taking any damage. Then we are focusing on maximum damage output, which means it's preferred to have a stealth commando companion if possible. If you will not get one, that's still fine, but you will lose a lot of damage. Now about the gear. Whatever set of life-saving armor you will need to have equipped most of the time, I recommend to have whatever set of unyielding armor to use whenever you need to boost your special, like for trading or whatever, but life-saving is the most important. It doesn't matter what type of armor it will be. I do recommend it to be ultralight, all the pieces, as you don't want it to be heavy, it's just for self-revive. With full set, your self-revive chance is around 98%. What's really good. Now, in regards to power armor, I do recommend overeaters, any power armor with overeaters. And for the torso, what's important, protocols, emergency protocols on the torso. I do have my excavator for extra carry weight. You can use whatever, you can use Hellfire, you can use T65, you will have slightly higher resistance. I'm happy with just excavator, but that's me. You can go better, but you will lose 100 carry weight. Now, about your arsenal, you will basically be based on 3 weapons. It will be Gatling Plasma, possibly anti-armor, as we are talking on maximum damage output, especially for the boss fights. Therefore, heavy energy guns with anti-armor is our choice, is our preferred prefix. On top of that, faster fire rate, or if you cannot find faster fire rate damage while aiming, 3rd star, up to you. In case of Flamer, it will be great if you find breaks slower, but it can be hard to find all the stars you want. Therefore, we are focusing mainly on anti-armor part. And other, if you can find good stars for the 2nd and 3rd one, perfect. If you can't, the prefix is what makes the weapon great. Then we have this flamethrower, and we do have Gatling laser, ultrasight Gatling laser. Of course, all those weapons are prime with exception of Flamer that cannot be primed. And this one in particular, this is for sniping regular Scorchbeams while they're flying around, as this weapon does offer really good accuracy and range, unlike Flamer or Gatling Plasma. Gatling Plasma basically too slow to much spread. Flamer do not offer good range for flying targets. Then we have this ultrasight Gatling laser, mainly for this purpose. And I'm not talking much about modifications on those weapons, but you can see them here on the right side if you need to copy exactly what I have. Apart from that, I do recommend to carry Gamma Gun, as we will not be using Toxic Goo for radiation, as Toxic Goo is heavy without through Hiker. Therefore, Gamma Gun is recommended. If you can get reduced weight, that's the best what you can do. Other legendary effects doesn't really matter, as we are using it for self-irradiating. And if you will be lucky enough to get Explosive Crusader Pistol, you can put Cryo Receiver to put yourself down for a self-revive. It's a very convenient way to do that. If you do not have this pistol, do not panic. It's very effective if you will just use plasma grenades. Then no worries about that. You can just use plasma grenades. You will just need additional item in your inventory. Now about the food buffs, you will need to carry just a little bit, and recommended food buffs for you is the corn soup for AP regen, mute fruit juice for higher AP pool and more agility, sealed bean soup for extra health thanks to this endurance, tato juice for extra AP, and tato salad for extra HP. Those are the buffs you want to keep crafting, then for like a small garden in your camp will be recommended. About the 8th section, you are able to carry more stuff in here, but important buff will be Psycho buff for extra damage during the boss fights, some Stimpaks for healing, and back to the food and drink Liquid Courage for Colossus fights. As you will be on the front line, you don't want to be affected by Scream. Now, just a quick reminder, the Flamer is still affected by a range issue, which means you will need to go into the workbench, change the barrel to standard and back to long whenever you want to use it really effectively, otherwise your range will be about melee range. And of course I'm doing testing on the custom world, therefore it's showing that I have no cores and stuff like that, but I have unlimited ammo switch on. The difficulty is the same as live servers. Now, let's go for some testing. We're going first for some rats, like you use Gamma Gun, as you can see, like one shot and I'm in a proper rat range, and then we jump into power armor, we kill some enemies. I almost forgot the self-revive bonus, how you do it. Basically, I'm using Gamma Gun first to drop my health really low, then I swap for my Crusader pistol, shoot the ground couple times until I die. Unfortunately, my Stimpak triggered, what makes it a little bit more difficult. And I'm down. Now my armor is resurrecting me. I have the buff. I'm swapping back to the Gamma Gun to put myself back into the Nerd Rage. Back into the Nerd Rage, back to the power armor. I have my consumables up and running. I didn't use any any of the bubble heads or magazines. Therefore, my damage for boss fights can be a little bit higher, as we do have extended duration for bubble heads if I would use any. But first, let's kill something with this build. Let me show you how it works. That's the behemoth, and he's dead. So you were able to see it was rather fast. Now we have a fissure sight. I'll be using Gatling laser. This is, as you can see, very accurate weapon, and in case of regular Scourge, it's absolutely no problem damage-wise. And what I was saying before, as you can see, I can hit flying Scourge Beast very effectively without even aiming down the side, and I'm doing really good damage. Then that's the weapon I'm using to kill those Scourge Beasts that are just flying around and deal with regular fissures, regular Scourge, all those regular enemies. They're dying like almost instantly. Can down the side, and accuracy is even better. I really like to use it in third person, it makes it easier. But if I use it in first person, you can see I have no sight installed. Sight obstructs more view than it actually helps you. Mutants T45, right arm, we don't want it. And finally the third weapon that's very efficient and like ammo efficient and super practical for everyday use is the Gatling Plasma. It's crazy high damage. It's really ammo efficient as well, very efficient on bosses as long as there is no high distance from the enemies and you can deal with a little bit higher spread than other weapons. It's working perfectly fine. It's doing really high damage. Not as high as the Flamer, like Flamer is our main weapon for damage, but it is working very well. Definitely cheaper to use than a Flamer. Do not require any changes to the barrel, anything like that. It's always ready to use. And of course, if you want other heavy guns, you can use any heavy gun. Every heavy gun will work very well with this build. But obviously the energy ones, it's where the damage at. You can see what I'm doing to this Marlock Queen. I'm melting her quite quickly, even though it's area boss level 100. And she's gone. I didn't die. I didn't even took much damage from any of those Marlock. I have enough poison resistance, fire resistance, plus overeaters and all the damage mitigation to deal with them. And I will show you on Super Mutants when I will be under a little bit heavier fire that my AP is not draining. I will reactivate my Revenant. As Revenant was not active on this Marlock Queen, as it's only 2 minutes, but let's reactivate it. Okay, we have Revenant back. Give me rats again, and we kill some Super Mutants. Okay, let's first maybe give them a chance to shoot me. Then you will see how I'm tanking the damage with this build. So you can see my AP is dropping occasionally a little bit, but it's working perfectly fine. With just a Corn Soup, I have enough time to recover all this AP, and Steampack being triggered by Born Survival from time to time, and healing from energy weapons from those Super Mutants. I'm not taking any damage. And that's why I said Excavator is perfectly fine. You don't need any more. If you have full set of Overeaters, there's really like nothing more you will need. Unless you don't have full set of Overeaters, then using something like Hellfire can have a little bit more sense. Now, damage-wise, as you can see, they like basically melting almost instantly. Then there is like no problem with that. I don't think you will need any more damage than this. There is no bosses that will be able to survive that. And don't forget, your damage will be higher with Commando Partner because he will be triggering follow through debuff on the enemies and they will be taking like basically 50% extra damage. Then, yeah. That's the build, everyone. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think about my Heavy Gunner full DPS build. I did it a little bit late. I didn't even realize this build was not in my playlist. It will be now. If you still have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm happy to assist you. Although if your questions are more like a beginner-like how to get there, then please check my other builds that are more recommended to experience grinding and getting to the point when you can actually utilize all of those legendary perks, all of those endgame weapons and stuff like that, because this build is to just go full steam ahead on all the bosses, everything that game can throw at you, and maybe even try something like those custom words that popping up occasionally, like Dweller Must Die, and try your luck in there on higher difficulty. And now, as always, thank you a lot for watching, and see you all in the next one.